Good morning, evening, afternoon. What time is it? Um, it's been a long day. It's been a long Monday, but here we are. No, no. Uh, well, okay. At least one person hears voices. Corvus. I'm not sure what's wrong on your end. Always have IT issues. It's just my thing now. Start a stream with issues.
Okay. I think I know what it is.
But you can hear me, OG.
Yeah, I know what it was. I think Chrome muted the tab for me.
Ah, Corvus has me muted. There we go. See? I thought I had issues. I don't. I've got my phone there with my game playing. I'm totally focused on the crochet here, not gaming. Anyway, here we are for the final part of the Happy Little Snowman, not My Little Snowman. I was thinking My Little Pony there, but that's really the wrong genre. The Happy Little Snowman design. So we finished off the body in the last one. So today, if we look at my big fluffy one, we're going to be working on the scarf, the nose, the top hat, and the embroidery. And that should hopefully finish us off. But I do just want to introduce everyone to the little Happy Little Snowman, the littler one. This one is a Christmas hanging decoration. He will be on sale on my Etsy store from tomorrow. Not much else to say about him. Thought I was going to go further with that. But cute little all sparkly addition for any Christmas tree or Christmas decorations. He was a lot of fun to make as well. He's a slightly adjusted pattern from this. So I haven't used as many rows for his body as I used for the big snowman. And my written pattern, which will be published after this video, will have the instructions for both the big snowman and the little snowman. So he's not too far off, he's just a couple of rows edited. But alrighty. So we'll put the body to one side. So for the accessories, I'm using a 3.5 mil hook or US size E. For the scarf, I'm using again the sparkly B&M Glamorous yarn, 150 gram. For the hat and the nose, I'm using the Rico Designs Rico Rumi Creative DK yarn. I'm using it in black and the terracotta. Ordinarily I'd use probably the smoky orange because it's got a bit more of an orangey colour to it, but it's not overly bright like their normal orange colour is. I guess the smoky orange is probably a bit more like this colour. This is DMC Naturals. Sorry, Natura. But I'm not going to be using that one. So I use the terracotta for this guy's nose, so I'll be just using the same for this video. Alright, so I thought just because it's nice, easy, basic back and forth stitch, we'd start on the scarf. The scarf's a very simple one, so we'll just start off with the red. And we'll just make a slip knot to start it off. And I for this scarf, obviously I made a couple little sort of like tassel bits for on the end. So I left quite a long tail on this one, mainly because I like to just trim it down to the right length. And I mean, you don't have to make it as long depending on how long you want to go with the tail, but I find it easier to just cut off a bit extra waist than trying to get a slip knot with only a short tail to begin with. So the scarf gets mildly boring because it's just the same, it's just a single crochet over and over, but we need to start off with an initial chain of 100. So this is where you better be good at counting, because otherwise you could be repeating your count over and over. A little trick I do for when I'm making a long chain, which I think actually a lot of crafters use. Going well. I've lost my stitch markers. Well, I'm going to have to cope without them. So normally I would use one of my stitch markers and I'd place it in every 10th stitch, just hook it in. You want me to start with the nose, OG? Just get to nose. Why are you doing the scarf this way instead of making it tall instead? Is it? So do you mean like why have I done the scarf with the stripes going that way rather than back and forth? But yeah, I might actually start with the nose. So that's what we will do with the scarf eventually, but got to keep current company happy, so we'll start with the nose then. I thought that's where they were on the table, but no, I can't find them, Corvus. I thought they were on to my left. Got a massive bag of them. Stitch markers have a wonderful habit of disappearing right when you need them. Alright, so for the nose, I'm going to start with a magic circle, and for this one I'm going to do an actual magic circle, not my alternative, because I start with the tip of the nose, and I want to make that hole as tight as possible. So I don't want there to be sort of a gap at the end of the nose. So this is just a preference. I don't know the difference between doing the mask one way or another. This was just a preference to do it this way, mainly because I didn't have to do as many colour changes. I just had to change the colour 5 times. Whereas if I did try doing a scarf back and forth and build it up tall, and I tried to carry the colour every row that I did, and I just found it got really fiddly, and I didn't like. I got to about, I think, 20 rows of that, and I gave up. So I ended up doing it this way. And actually, I think, to me personally, I think that looks nicer. In my mind, it was kind of like the little gold, made like little gold Christmas trees in the way it the stitches work out, but that was just my personal preference. So for the magic circle, I know I've shown a magic circle before, but I'll try to show it again just because magic circle is what I consider to be one of the hardest things to do in crochet. So I'm just going to lay the yarn across my hand with the tail at the pointing towards me. Then I'm going to take the yarn attached to the ball, loop it back behind my fingers, back over, and cross it over the tail end of the yarn. So I've got two parallel lines on the top. Just need to move that one out of the way. Take my hook, put the hook under both strands, grab the one behind, pull it under the first one, so you've got it sort of crossed over the hook, and then I'm going to grab the working yarn, so the strand attached to the ball, and pull that through that little cross, and then without dropping the circle, so you can see that sort of made a little loop from the tail, and you've got your yarn off towards the ball. So without dropping that, let's grab my yarn, pull it tight. I'm going to chain one. I apologise if you can hear my dog in the background. She's gotten a new toy, which is a pig, and it oinks whenever she bites into it. So just chain one, and then I'm going to do 4 single crochets into the circle. So put my hook through, grab the yarn, pull under, back through the loop, grab the yarn, complete the stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. We've still got fireworks going off around us. So then I'm going to grab the tail end of the yarn so I can let go of the circle. I'm just going to pull that tight, and that closes off that loop and brings the stitches round into a nice neat circle for me. Alright, OG, go have fun. What game is it you're playing, just quickly before you go, unless you've already left? And thank you, I hope we all have a nice stream. So I'm going to put my hook through that first stitch and do a single crochet, just one. Ordinarily we do a double at this point. We would increase by 1 stitch, 1 single crochet in each stitch, but we're not going to do this for the nose because we want to get a quite tapered cone. So once I get my hook through, can get difficult when you're working with such a small circle. It becomes quite fiddly, so just keep trying. Right. Grab the yarn. I do have a Discord, OG. So we don't have it up there at the moment, but should have it open. I'll just post my Discord account in chat, unless Corvus has it there to hand. There we go. Yeah, that's my Discord. Apex Legends. I'll have to play that. I haven't played that yet, but I've heard good things about it, so could be a game to check out. But have fun, OG. So we just brought our hook through the first stitch, so just complete that single crochet. So we're only doing one single crochet in that first stitch compared to normal. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So where ordinarily in this second row we would do 2 single crochets in every stitch, when not increasing by that many, we only want to increase by 2 rather than 4, because we want to get a cone to sort of match the look of a carrot. So we've done 2 in the same stitch. Now we do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, two single crochets in the next. So that should give us a count of 6 stitches. Alright, bye bye OG. So we'll have 6 stitches now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're only increasing by 2 stitches each row. So continuing on, we do 2 single crochets in the next 2 stitches. Oops. Bear with me. My circle got a bit loose there. Nose is probably the most fiddly. Shino! Hi Shino, how are you? Nova! Dog's being a pain. Dog's been a pain all day, but she's been a particular pain at the moment. That's why you marry an IT guy. He does all your advertising for you while you're streaming. Okay, so we do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. Damn it, I dropped my stitch. Oh, hook came out. As I said before, and I will say it again, the nose is very fiddly because we're obviously making quite a small piece with very few stitch increases. So I'm trying to make it as carrot shaped as possible. So you do just have to sort of persevere the first few rounds. This always hurts my fingers a little bit, but just keep trying. Right. The last increase, 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And that brings us to a stitch count of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. So a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So Corvus and I watched the remake of The Witches last night, and gotta be honest, the original, terrified me as a kid, but I love it, and the remake was disappointing, to say the least. Alright, so then single crochet in the next 3 stitches. I think the biggest thing that didn't make sense to me about the remake of the New Witches, or the remake of The Witches, was the Anne Hathaway's character having a Russian accent. I think, looking at some reviews of it, the point was for her to overreact a lot, but or overact a lot, sorry. But she just went a bit too far with it. And Angela Hudson in the Angelica Hudson, oh god, I forgot. In the first one, like, she was terrifying. And Anne Hathaway in this remake was just comedic. Wasn't scary. And as Bryden, oh god, as Corvus knows, I'm sorry, Corvus. As Corvus knows, I do not deal well with scary. He made me watch 13 Ghosts and didn't sleep for 2 days after that. So I don't fully forgive if I dox you, I dox myself. Yes, that is true, Corvus, and I apologise. I think I already have doxed myself occasionally. I sort of just forget that I'm streaming. I'm just chatting away, thinking I'm just chatting to a little private group, and yeah. I'm getting used to streaming, okay? It's only my 4th stream. I'm getting used to it. I've lost count. Where am I? 1, 2, 3, 8, 9. Alright, so 2... I feel really bad now. 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So we have a stitch count of 10. Yeah, I did. That's true, Corvus, I did do that. I was hoping people would have forgotten, and now you have pinpointed that they can find that information. So, Factioneera, thank you very much for the follow. So, we've got a stitch count of 10. So we're gonna... no more increases now. We're just going to do a single crochet in every stitch. I know that, and I have. And I guess, what, the videos only stay up on Twitch for a little bit, don't they? So we're just going to do 4 rounds of just a single crochet in every stitch to finish off the nose. Now, yours may not look so much like a cone just yet. Mine doesn't, but once we stuff it slightly, we'll get that sort of shape in there. Obviously, as we're just still increasing, the shape is a bit off because we're constantly moving it around, squeezing it, pinching it, trying to get our hook through the stitches. But that will form out as we build up on it a bit more and get it sewn onto the snowman. Alright, so videos are up on Twitch for about a month. Okay. Good to know. So what have you been up to lately, Shino? Work is stressful enough, hey? Yep. Yeah, don't we know it? Both Corvus and I are working from home at the moment, which we have been ever since, you know, the beginning of the pandemic. And it's, I think there's a little misconception about working from home. Working from home does not get rid of the stress of the job, even though you're in like sort of your home environment. In my opinion, it almost adds to the stress because you lose that separation of work and home life. It sort of starts to bleed through together, which I don't like particularly, but there's not much you can do about it at the moment. So you're getting back into Sea of Thieves. I haven't played any Sea of Thieves. I've seen other people play it. It looks like a lot of fun actually, but I myself have not played any of it. Oh, we have it on Xbox Ultimate, do you call this? I didn't know that. I'll have to check it out then. You can see why it wasn't super successful. Right, okay. So it's got some bad reviews then, does it, you know? I've seen like a few people play it though, so I thought it was relatively successful, or it looked more like it was successful for its comedic value, probably more than its gameplay. No, great framework, but not much flesh on it really. Okay. Seems to be aging relatively well, keeping pretty steady player base. Yeah, that's sort of, I think, what I thought. Like, I always see the people that I watch who stream games that have played Sea of Thieves, like they leave it for a little bit, but they always seem to come out with a video here and there of them playing it, or maybe like a highlights video, I guess. And there were lots of players on the fun with stealing other players' stuff and being an actual pirate. Yeah, I think everyone wants games like that, don't they, where they can sort of pretend to be something else. I think that's sort of why I like playing Banished a lot. It's probably my favourite go-to game, especially when I need like a relax game, when I'm not too into doing anything that takes probably a lot of energy. And mainly when I play Banished, I just sort of like to think of myself as God. Or as the town mayor, I guess. And I find it's also a really good game for if you've had a bad day, to see how quickly you can kill everyone in your settlement. Which I know is not the object of the game, but can be fun. You monster, yes. I've yet to build a fully successful settlement in Banished. I would like to achieve a successful self-sustaining one. But every time I feel like I'm getting to that point, a natural disaster hits, and then it just throws that all to the wind, and then I just give up and see how quickly I can just lose everyone and then restart. I know Sheep has been playing it with Colonial Charter, and I have tried playing Colonial Charter before, and I found that, you know, if the normal Banished game was hard enough for me, adding more buildings and more ways of surviving, or adding citizens, that was just a step too far for me. It's too much to remember how to do. Like, I have a very set number of tasks that I do when starting up a new settlement in Banished, and one is immediately, as soon as I can, a herbalist and a gatherer's hut, and then a hunting lodge and a fisherman, and then I work on the buildings and get a trading dock in as soon as possible. But occasionally that bites me in the arse a little, because I end up getting too many citizens too quickly and not enough food. Or firewood, another one. Alright, so because I'm actually making a smaller snowman than my other big boy, I'm not going to do the full four rows. I'm going to stop at 3 rows, just trying to keep the nose a little proportionate to the body. I know a snowman's carrot is not always proportional, but I'm going to for this one. So I'm going to end off this nose with a slip stitch. And now I'm having super trouble getting my hook through. Let's finish that off with a slip stitch. Cut my yarn. I'm going to leave a bit of a tail, because I'm going to use that to sew the nose onto the body. Pull that through. And that original tail from the magic circle, I'm just going to give that a good tug, make sure that starting hole is nice and small. I'm going to trim that off slightly, and I'm just going to stuff that into the nose. So there's the carrot nose. So I'm just going to put that to the side for the moment, because I like to finish off the accessories before I start sewing things on. It helps with placing things in the right spot. So we'll go to the top hat. Once we've got the top hat, we'll sew everything onto the snowman, and then we'll go back to the scarf. I know I did sort of start the scarf at the beginning, but scarf probably more of a good place to start ending the stream rather than starting it, only because it's quite repetitive, so it's more suited, I think, for just chatting really than trying to explain everything. It's just back and forth, single crochets. So for the hat, I'm going to do the magic circle again, or the alternative method of chain 2 and then 6 single crochets into the second chain from the hook. So you can do it either way. I again will do this one with an actual magic circle, so I can keep that hole at the top of the hat nice and small. So I'm just going to start that off. Sorry if I'm going off stream again. I'm practicing. I'm not doing very good, but I'm trying. Right. 1. So I'm going to do 6 single crochets into a magic circle. 3. 4. 5. 6. Pull the tail end, close the circle. Right. So we're then going to do 2 single crochets into every stitch. And we're going to increase every round by 6 stitches. So this first row, or well, the second row of the top hat, 2 single crochets into every stitch. And then it's following a very similar pattern to when we started the body of the snowman. The second row, or the third row, technically will be 1 single crochet in the next stitch, then 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and then we'll increase that again, so it'll be 2 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And that just keeps the top of the top hat nice and flat. When we start doing the sides of the top hat, you may find that this top circle will start to bulge, and what we'll do is, and what I did in this one and all of them, is I just added a little cardboard disc to the top of the top hat, so inside, and that gives a nice sort of flat formed shape. But we'll do the disc once we sort of know what sort of diameter we're working with for the top of the hat because we want it to fit nice and snug inside. I think that's it. 12, perfect. So next row, as I said, single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So I had an interesting moment earlier. I know it's Monday today, and I was talking with one of my clients earlier in the day, and I was talking with her to arrange a call, another call with her for later in the week. But I had a moment where when I was talking with her, I thought it was Friday, and oh, you're about ready to pass out. Alright, well, you go get some sleep. I'm sure we'll see you later. Thank you for joining us. So while I was on the phone with this woman, I thought it was Friday. So I was asking her if I could arrange a call back with her for next week. And then as I was thinking about it, I realised that I actually meant later this week and not next week, because that seemed like actually a ridiculous amount of time to make her wait to speak with me again, for what it is we needed to talk about. So I had again that moment, which I have most Mondays, of nothing ruins your Friday quite like finding out it's Monday. Except I had this stream to look forward to, so that's always a brighter point for a Monday. Two single crochets in the same stitch. One single crochet in the next, and then 2 single crochets. I'm going to do a final repeat now. Do 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Okay, next row, single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Split my yarn there. Then 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and just repeat that around the row. Not doing very well today with keeping my yarn on my hook. We always have our bad days. The dog has finally passed out. Little Nova. Dog has tested my patience today. I mean, she's a puppy, she's only 5 months old, so that's what she's bound to do. Test boundaries, test patience. but she likes to chew things, as most puppies do, to chew things that she's not allowed to chew. So she got a hold of over a 20-month-old toddler, and Nova got a hold of a couple of my daughter's water bottles. So I replaced all of the water bottles. Well, Nova got one of the new ones today. Not doing very good at keeping track of my count today. If only I could find those stitch markers. No, I know I've got one there, so I'm being silly not using it. But two more repeats, so one single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And last one single crochet in the next 2 stitches, then 2 single crochets in the same stitch. I think Corvus is messing around with the focus.
I'm trying to get the exposure a bit better because it's quite dark.
Fair enough. And working with the black yarn, it is going to be quite difficult to see. So let's see if we can get the exposure level up a bit so we can more easily see the work. No, alrighty.
It's either good exposure or lose focus.
I'll take the focus over the good exposure then, I guess. Alrighty, so next one, we're continuing with the increased pattern, so we're doing single crochet in the next 3 stitches.
Oops. Don't mind me.
Corvus is messing around with my lighting. Bear with us. And the microphone.
Easy there too.
Apologies for anyone wearing headphones at this point. I think it was better where it was. I could change the lighting.
Can you make it brighter?
No, but I could change it to a different tone.
Cut tone. Okay.
That's fine. No, that was... One day I'll have a perfect stream where there's no technical issues on startup and there's no changes to the setup during the stream.
Yeah, there's no husband coming in and messing.
And pretty much. One day. Girl can dream.
Oh my god, where's Pikachu?
Aw, Pikachu. That's right.
That's Eevee, not Pikachu.
Oh. I should have known that. Pikachu's around here on the desk somewhere. I have 3D printed Pikachu and Eevee and Batman on my monitor. For anyone interested. Alright, so single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Going back to the, the matter of this string. And then 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Okay. Continue round. Oops. Missed a stitch. Working with black yarn, it's so easy to miss a stitch, so do be careful as you're going round. Excuse me, stream. Just leave it.
It's quite dark over this corner.
It's always quite dark over that corner.
Yeah, I know.
though.
Try and make it be not quite dark in that corner.
Right, single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Apologies if you can hear the fireworks going off. We had quite hoped that they'd stopped with the fireworks, but no such luck. It's not that I don't like fireworks, I just would prefer that they go off at particular times and not just whenever someone feels like it on a weeknight, and quite close to my house, mainly because I have a dog and a toddler who don't, either of them, particularly like fireworks. Right, so that brings us to the end of row 5. I'm going to be using my stitch marker from here on in because I am losing track, which isn't helping. It is, thank you. You're distracting me. Love you. So starting row 6. Again, keeping with the same sort of pattern repeats, single crochet in the next 4 stitches. I'm just going to do the first one, pop my stitch marker in. Two, 3, 4. Then 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Two, and just keep going around. you hit your stitch marker again. I'm not doing well here. It's one of those nights where I'm not really in the zone for crochet. My head's not really all there. I've had a migraine for the last couple of days and it's eased a bit, so I was like, you know, we'll get streaming, get this snowman finished, but I will admit my head is a little scattered. So I'm trying to explain things as well as possible. But if anyone is crocheting along at the same time on the live stream, if I'm not making sense, just pop it up in chat and I'll try to go back over the instructions again and try to make it as intelligible as possible. I do apologise if I'm not making too much sense. So single crochet in the next 4 stitches. Three, 4, and 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Last 2 increase repeats. Last repeat, single crochet in the next 4 stitches. And then 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Alrighty, so I'm going to do 1 more row and that's it then. So single crochet in the next 5 stitches, just do the first 2, then pop my stitch marker back in. Four, 5, and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. And split my yarn. Let me just do those. So these are, I'll just pull back to the increase stitch, so the 2 single crochets in the same stitch. I split my yarn so the stitches weren't sitting right. And just do that repeat all the way around. One, 2. Single crochet in the next 5 stitches. 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Picked up a straggler. Two single crochets in the same stitch, and last repeat, single crochet in the next 5 stitches, and 2 single crochets in the last stitch. Going to remove the stitch marker. So before we go into the 8th row, we just need to do a single slip stitch. Yarn through, needle through, grab a yarn, pull through, and just pull that straight through. Don't grab a yarn again. So we're just doing a slip stitch rather than a full single crochet. So that's the top of the top hat. So to make the sides of the top hat, we're going to be working in the back loop only of just this row. So the rows after will just be straight single crochets. But for this row, row 8, we're going to be working in the back loop only. So we're going to put our hook through. I find for the first one, after you've done the slip stitch, can be a little tricky getting the hook through, but the ones after should be fairly easy. So, get the hook through that first back loop. So you're only picking up, put your hook through one loop of a stitch, grab your yarn and complete a single crochet as you would before. Again, I dropped my stitch. That's working into the back loop. So we're just going to do a single crochet in the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now in order to get quite a sharp corner, so that we then get a nice straight edge to the top hat, so like here, so we've got nice sharp turn to the sides of the top hat from the top disc. We're going to decrease every now and then in this 8th row. So we've done 5 single crochets, and we're going to do what we're going to do is we're going to skip this next stitch, and we're going to insert our hook into the one after, and then complete a single crochet. So we're just going to, where we would normally have done like a invisible decrease, you can do that working in the back loop only, but it is, I know I say this a lot, but it is very fiddly, and can get quite messy trying to get your hook through the back loop of 2 stitches. It's very easy to split the yarn, pull little threads here and there. It can make it look very messy, so I prefer to just skip a stitch, and because we're pulling our single crochets quite tight, you won't really see a hole, especially not immediately after this row of back loops. So we're then again going to do a single crochet in the next 5 stitches, just working in that back loop. Four, 5, and then just skip that next stitch, go to the 2nd stitch and complete a single crochet. So where we've been increasing by 6 every round, so we've been doing 6 repeats of the increases, we're only going to do 5 decreases, so rather than 6. Hi Novi, big fan. Sorry, I'm sorry I didn't notice your initial comment till just now. How are you? So single crochet in the next 5 stitches, working in the back loop only. Four, 5, and then skip the next stitch, insert your hook through the back loop of the 2nd stitch and complete your single crochet, and just work around till you get to that. It's quite distinctive working in the back loops, so you should be able to see where you started doing the back loops quite easily. Just keep working around on until you get to the beginning of the back loop row. 5, skip the next stitch. Extremely tired, Novi. Yeah, I'm probably not too far off being extremely tired as well. I'm coming off from the back end of a migraine, so I'm looking forward to getting this snowman finished, and then I'm looking forward to my bed. Four, 5, skip the next stitch, two, 3, 4, 5, skip the next stitch, and then we're back at the beginning. which was the slip stitch. There we go. So a good point now is to measure out the cardboard disc insert. So I just like to just pull my loop out a little and just use any cardboard that you have to hand. Recycles. My pen. So I just draw out around the edge of that disc. It doesn't need to be perfect. You will need to trim the disc down anyway, because the outside of that disc is obviously a lot bigger than what the inside of it is. So now I've done that, I'm not going to cut it out just yet, because I'm going to do one more row of the top hat, and we're just going to do a full round. So we're just going to do a single crochet in every stitch, working in the normal stitch, no longer the back loop. So just through the whole stitch, and do a full round of single crochets. No increases or decreases, just a single crochet in every stitch. You get a lot of migraines quite often too, Novi. Yeah, Corvus and I, as Corvus has said, we seem to be getting them in tandem at the moment. Quite often after he's just gotten over one, I get one. But I generally get migraines when we've had quite a severe change in weather, or there's sort of an atmosphere change. So very in particular when we go from like sunny to then sun, rain and showers, which, you know, we're bound to get in the UK. That sort of happens, I think, daily or weekly even. And it was so funny, on Friday I had to drive over to England, to Bristol, into my office, and as I was leaving Wales, it was so sunny in Wales. As I was driving to work, I actually had to have my sunglasses on, and then I drove over across the border, and as I crossed the border, it was so gloomy and foggy in England, and I just felt like I'd gone to a completely different hemisphere, not just, you know, across the standard border. Can't say into a different country because it is a different country. Yes, I do. I work in Bristol. So not quite in Bristol. I work just south of the M4 and the M5 junction. So where my office is, it's about then a 10-minute drive into Bristol, but I mean, it is technically Bristol. We say that our address says Bristol, so. Well, if you do ever visit Wales, Novi, and in particular, if you are coming to visit Wales to pick up a German Shepherd puppy, let us know and swing by and come say hi. But yes, as Corvus has said, by Australian standards, you're really not that far away. We're used to where Corvus and I used to live in Australia, we used to live in Canberra, and I was actually speaking with Kate the other day on Bearded stream about that. And Kate lives in Queensland, and I was like, oh, you're practically neighbours. Well, Queensland, and in particular where Kate lives in Queensland, it was about an 18-hour drive from where Corvus and I used to live. So, by Australian standards, a trip over into South England is nothing. So now that we've done that second row of single crochets, my scissors, I'm going to cut out the disc, and I'm going to cut a little bit within the lines because I know that this is going to have to be trimmed down quite a bit. I don't even have a perfect circle drawn. And then just do a sort of test fit. Why do I work as in Bristol? Or do you mean what do I do? So that's a good little test fit, and you can see how that keeps the top of the top hat quite flat. And what we'll do eventually is we'll actually glue this disc in once we've built up a few more rows, so that will fit even better. I'm just going to try and trim its shape a little bit just so it keeps a more uniform shape as an actual circle in the top hat. So I'm a lawyer by day, crocheter by night. So I work for a legal firm in Bristol as a probate administrator. Why would we move from Australia to Wales? Well, yeah, Sheep is not very alone in asking that. No, we do get asked that question quite a lot. So, I am... Nova, you work for a law firm. It's like Twilight Zone. I got sidetracked there. I'm trying to answer another question, and you've just said you work for a law firm. Oh, what do you do? Like, got me so happy. The fee earner at the bottom, a TA. Yeah. But you are integral, because I used to have an assistant, and I have been lost without him. It is so different no longer having an assistant. We now have sort of an assistant pool rather than an individual assistant, and I miss my assistant so much. So just quick note before I answer the previous question. We're going to work a single crochet. So we've done row 9 now. So we're going to do 3 more rows of single crochets in each stitch. So just And pop the first stitch there, and then pop my stitch marker in so I can keep track of the rows. So it's a good chatting point, so we're just going to work 3 rows of single crochet in every stitch. So going back to the question as to why Corvus and I moved to the UK from Australia. Framing, sorry. So I am half German, half Australian. My father is Australian, my mother is German. And my mother moved to Australia with my father before I was born. And when I got to the stage when I finished school, so when I graduated from year 12, before starting university, my mother said that she wanted to retire back into Europe to be closer to her family in Germany. Her reasoning is that she'd spent 20 years living close to my father's family. She now wants to spend the next 20 years living close to her family. So we moved. So I lived in Germany when I was 16 for 6 months on a student exchange. And while I was there, my parents travelled around England and Wales, just sort of seeing whether or not this was a place they wanted to live. They wanted to move somewhere that was still English speaking, because although my mother and I speak German, as does my father, my mother was a psychologist, or is a psychologist, and she'd been practicing for so long speaking English, she wanted to stay in an English-speaking country because she didn't have the vocabulary. Even though she's a native speaker, she just wasn't practicing her German in a professional capacity anymore. So they travelled around Wales, fell in love with it, so they decided to retire here. Well, my dad retired, my mum's still working. And I knew I was coming with them, and my plan was to go to law school over here. But I happened to meet Corvus just before I went on the student exchange. We were in a theatre production together, and we got together while I was actually on the student exchange, back in the grand old days of MSN. And when he was a lighting and sound tech. And I told him sort of very early on in the relationship that I would eventually be moving to Europe. So I was trying to make it clear, look, you know, if you want to sort of end it now or just have a fling, I'll be leaving for Europe eventually. And he said, well, I always wanted to move overseas, so I'll come with you. So we moved over in 2010 and have been here ever since. We're both British citizens now. We've been through citizenship. We just sort of settled. We liked it when we came over here, so we decided that was it. We're staying here, and now we've bought a house. We've got a child who was the first British citizen in the family. She was born British, whereas we had to go through citizenship application. And especially after the Brexit vote, I was immediately like, well, status as a European citizen is no longer certain. Quick, let's become citizens. Australia is very far. So we used to come over for Christmas every second year. My first Christmas was in Germany, so we'd go to visit my family over there. Generally, we'd come over at Christmas. As I got older, we started coming during European summer, so I would get a couple of weeks out of school back in Australia, because we'd come over for European summer, whereas it was Australian winter, so we'd come over my winter holidays from school. But winter holidays in Australia are only 2 weeks, and we'd try to come for a 6 weeks period, so I'd always have a couple of extra weeks off school, which I thought was great. But the travel, the 32-hour travel from Australia to Germany or the UK it's a killer. Not something I relish doing. I'd like to visit Australia one day, and you've been to New Zealand once. I've been to New Zealand once when I was young. I remember nothing of it. I really would like to go back. But as Corva said, yeah, our daughter's first Christmas was in Germany, which was sort of a really nice carry on. You know, my first Christmas was there, and we did go have Christmas in my family's home there. We had a Christmas lunch, which was really, really lovely. I'm glad we got to do that. We were meant to be flying back to Australia this year, take Lily over there. But we're meant to be flying over in May. But with the pandemic, obviously that didn't happen. Which I have to be honest, I'm not overly upset about, because I was not hugely looking forward to travelling with a 18-month-old on that long of a flight. That could have been torture. Novi said if I ever fly to New Zealand again, I would have to have better tickets. I would need to drug myself so I can be asleep the entire time. Yeah, I think Corvus would agree with you on that one. I think because I've been flying basically my whole life, I do not have any problem sleeping on planes. But I know Corvus has. One more row of single crochets. So yeah, I have never had a problem with sleeping on a plane. I think that's because I've been pretty much on a plane every year of my life, except for this year probably. Yeah, Corvus and my goal is to one day fly business class, but that may be a long time off, sadly. When Corvus and I do fly, I do always ask if we can get like one of those extra legroom seats, so either by the exit or by the bulkhead, but obviously you can't get those all the time. Watched all of Lord of the Rings when you flew to New Zealand. That's kind of fitting, Novi, to watch, and you still had 8 hours to go. Did you watch the extended? Although I'm guessing if it was the plain versions, they weren't the extended, because I feel like the extended might have taken you all the way to New Zealand. Now if you fly to New Zealand, you could watch all of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and that would definitely last the full flight. Aw, poor Rosie. Rosie's not ugly. Unless it's like a cute ugly, in which case, yeah. Jeez, putting the pressure on Novi. Yeah, I'm getting along with Rosie's jumper. The did I show it to you last stream? What where we were at with it? So there we go. We finished those 4 rows. I'm going to do the final fit of the cardboard disc, and I'm going to glue that in before I move to the next stage. Bent the disc, so I'm going to have to cut myself a new one. Alright, now I'll get the jumper out in a moment. Bear with me. That's a good point, Cause I probably should have put something light down on the desk before working with the black yarn. Points for next time. So funny that you also work for a law firm. Applying to a new job now though, as it's very stressful and I'm very underpaid for the amount of work I do as the only TA at our office. But it has been very nice. Yeah, a law firm is very stressful. And it is very easy to be underpaid. So I used to work at another law firm, which was my first job out of university back in 2015 to 2017. So I worked there for 3 years before I went to my current job. And I did a lot of high value work. I trained a lot of new paralegals in the job, and I did earn myself a promotion, but it was very underpaid for the amount of work I did. I learnt a lot from the job. I can never stress that enough. It taught me a lot. It taught me how to do my job and how to sort of roll with the punches. as in deal with unexpected events. But yes, just going over the border into England to do the same job came with a pay rise of roughly £10,000. So, which has made it a lot more appealing to continue. A criminal law firm would be a lot more interesting. Yes, it would. I'll get onto another story with that in a moment. So I'm just using, to be honest, I'm using super glue, but you could use any sort of craft glue, hot glue, whatever. So I'm just going to glue the disc into the top of the top hat. If you are using super glue, don't get it on your skin. If you do get it on your skin, have nail polish to hand. So I used to, when Corvus and I first moved to the UK, we did find it a little tough finding jobs. So I worked for a ad hoc company as a ad hoc receptionist. So I was a temp basically, and I could get a call at like 5-6 o'clock in the morning with a "can you be at this place by 8?" and I wouldn't necessarily know what job I was going into, what the company was, what they were doing. I would just be like, cool. I go, I answer phones, transfer people, book things in, job done. It was actually a really fun job, I've got to be honest. If it was a bit more stable and I knew how much I was earning each month from it, I probably would have continued it. But I did work for a law firm just down the road for a week. I worked as a typist for them. And they did criminal and family law, so they did divorce cases and criminal appeals and that sort of thing. And I wasn't a fee earner at the time, so I wasn't doing the actual work. I was just typing up dictation notes, and it was the hardest emotional job I've ever had. It took a lot to not try and or not sympathize too much with the clients or the situation that I was hearing about. So I just found it so it was a lovely job, but it was emotionally quite a hard job. And I sit in awe of people that work like criminal lawyers and that, because they deal with a lot of crap from clients. So I do feel for them. Before we go into the stripe for the top hat, I'll give Novi a quick sneak peek of Rosie's jumper. So I'm making a dog jumper for Rosie, who's a whippet. So I have a lurcher, and I've made a dog jumper for her. Quick doggo cam. Where are we? Nova! What you up to? Just chilling. Quick doggo cam break. So this is where we're at the moment. So this is the portion that will go around the bum. So it's going to build up quite quickly from here. I've just been getting it out to sort of the right width for Rosie. We've got a nice sort of heart cable going up through. We're getting to the point, the way this yarn works, it's got these sort of little breaks in the colour patterns that make little like rose garden features. So we're just at that point in this yarn now. But it's going to build up quite quickly from here now. Doing the little increases to make sure that it is the right width to go around Rosie's bum is that takes a little bit of time. But it should almost be done. So for the stripe of the top hat, we're going to do what is called a jogless join. So it's a jogless stripe, and that just makes it sort of it gives it a nice neat look, whereas if you just sort of add the new colour in, you'd get sort of you'd get a little step of the colour change, whereas with the jogless join it will make it look quite even. So what we're going to do is, for the next stitch, we're just going to do a slip stitch. So we're just going to bring our hook through, grab the yarn, pull through, and do a slip stitch. Sort of ends the black, but so that's how we would do a normal slip stitch. So for a jogless join, pull back slightly. We're again still going to do a slip stitch, but we're going to put our hook through the stitch, and rather than picking the black yarn, which we would, we're going to pick up our red yarn, pull that through, and then keeping the two yarns quite tight, we're going to pull the red yarn through the slip stitch and just pull, give the tail end of the black just a little tug to keep it nice and tight, and also do that with the red yarn. Don't cut the black yarn, because we'll just carry it up once we finish doing the red. So we're now just going to work 2 rows of single crochets with the red yarn. So that slip stitch where we changed from the black to the red yarn, that counts as one stitch. But you're just going to keep going around for 2 rows, and then you're going to do the same thing basically, but changing from the red to the black yarn, and that will give the stripe quite sort of a straight edged look rather than a step, as you would see if you didn't do the stripe like this. Now you can do the stripe another way of just like sort of cutting the black yarn and tying the red yarn to it and going on. And you could put that sort of join to the back of the snowman. It's a personal preference thing how you'd like it to look, but I prefer to do the jogless stripe. yeah, as Corv said, I did get about 2 hearts into the first version of Rosie's jumper, and then I did pull apart. And actually, this is probably like version number 3. I think I pulled the first one apart as well. I want it to look a particular way, and I'm very picky, so it has to be perfect. As do all my works. Hi OG, how'd the game go? Coming up on the first round of the red, so we're going to keep going for one more round. Not my best rounds, but at least my kill death was on the positive side. Does not really matter as long as I play with my friends. That is a good way to be, OG. I am probably like that a little bit. I like when I'm playing with people, and I don't necessarily mind. I think Corvus and I tried to play Fortnite once. Say that quietly. And I didn't last, I think, even like the first 30 seconds of a round. I'm not good at games like that. I'm much better at like story playthroughs than first person shooters. Yeah, I got negative kills, as Corvus points out. To be fair, when I used to play James Bond Goldeneye on the Nintendo N64, I thought I was pretty good at that game. But first-person shooters, or things like Call of Duty, that I'm just not very good at. I'm not very spatially aware in a game. I'm not very spatially aware in real life. But I just don't see sort of what's around me, or I don't see if there's someone in the corner of a room or something, so I don't do very well at those games. Map awareness is a problem. You hope to one day to be able to crochet this quickly. I'm not the fastest crocheter, Novi. There are people I watch who, honestly, they can crochet so quickly and without even looking, and I am in awe of them. But it's just practice. And once your yarn comes in, which I'm so excited for, to see what you make, just keep practicing. The more you do, the better you get. Goldeneye was the best OG. I think everyone can agree on that. Alright, so we've come to the end of the red. So what we're going to do, insert our hook, drop the red yarn, and we're just going to pick up the black again. So this is why I said we didn't cut it off, because we can just carry it up the 2 rows behind because it'll be inside the hat, so you won't see it. Just look forward to when you can crochet and talk at the same time. The speed comes with practice. Yes. So pick up the red yarn and then just slip stitch that through the red. So not a normal single crochet. Just give the red a tug. Keep it nice and tight. And then don't start another round just yet. So I'm just going to cut the red off. So we're now going to make the rim of the top hat. So we're going to work in the front loops of the last red row. So we're doing like what we did with the top of it, where we worked in the where we worked in the back loop to get the nice edge before doing the straight sides down on the hat. We're now going to work in the front loop only, so we can get a nice crisp corner to get the brim of the top hat. But what we want to do is we want to chain 2, because we're going to be doing double crochets now rather than single crochets. We're going to be doing double crochet stitches, so they'll be a bit taller, so they'll give a bit more of a depth to the rim. So to do a double crochet, or which is US terminology, UK terminology would be a treble crochet. What we're going to do is we're going to loop our yarn over our hook once before we insert it into the stitch, and then we're going to insert our hook through, grab the yarn, pull through, so you've got 3 loops on your hook. Not sure how well that comes up. So yeah, you've got 3 loops, grab your yarn, pull it through the first 2 loops, so you're left with 2 loops on your hook, and grab your yarn again and pull it through the last 2, and that completes your treble crochet. Now I am just going to pull back, so that was just to show you what I meant. So we've got the two chains that we've done. So yarn over. What we're going to do, so we're not going to make, what I'm doing now is I'm about to insert my hook into the same stitch that I've chained those 2 stitches from, and that's so I don't have a gap between that chain and the first double crochet stitch. So I'm inserting my hook in the same stitch, grab my yarn, pull through, grab my yarn, pull through the first 2 loops, grab my yarn again and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. So that doesn't leave a gap between the chain and the stitch. So to do this rim, to get it nice and flat, what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So that initial chain as well, the 2 chain there, that counts as your first double crochet. So we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, working in that front loop only. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next stitch, again working in that front loop only. So 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and 2 double crochets in the same stitch. And you're just going to work that round to the beginning of this row. So just that same repeat, 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches and then 2 double crochets in the same stitch. I could hear a weird sort of banging behind me, or at least I thought it was a banging, and I've just realised it's my dog snoring. It sounds like something metallic banging together. You okay? He's passed out. So, has everyone had an okay Monday? I know England is in lockdown now. Wales has just come out of it this morning. And a couple of my friends that had decided to brave going shopping this morning pretty much instantly regretted it, with the queues that were out of the shops and around the corner. Now that everyone can go shopping again, everyone is going shopping again. Oh yes, that's right. No, you were waiting on test results, weren't you? Was it you that was waiting on test results, or was it James? She might be AFK, Corvus, you're alright. Sure, she'll pop up again in a little bit. So I can't remember if I asked this in last stream, OG. What's your favourite game? Can't complain myself. Non-eventful evening, but not a bad one either. Well, that's at least something, OG. As long as you're not having a bad evening, it's alright. It's terrible if you're having a bad evening, especially if you're having a bad Monday evening. I'm just going to finish this row off with double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 2 double crochets in the same stitch, and then you'll likely find that you only have 1 stitch left before you get back to the start of this row, but that's fine. Just do your single double crochet just to finish off that last stitch, and then what we're going to do is we're going to insert our hook into the top of that first double crochet that we did, and we're just going to slip stitch that together. So that's going to close off the row. You can see we're starting to get quite sort of a distinct brim. So we've got 1 more row to do on the brim, and that finishes the hat off. So game that's a bit undescriptive. I'm a person with many favourites depending on mood and who I play with. That's a fair enough point. So we were talking about Banished earlier. So what's your favourite game to chill to? So for the final row of the excuse me, of the brim, we're going to chain 2 just to start up the next row. Then we're going to do a double crochet in the same stitch, and then double crochet, a single double crochet in the next 7 stitches. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and then 2 double crochets in the same stitch. And that's the increase pattern for this. So a single double crochet, 1 double crochet in the next 7 stitches, and then 2 double crochets in the same stitch. So bought Portal on Xbox just to get more achievements to complete. 2,000 hours in Mario Maker. Played through Hollow Knight in 3 days with a file of 34 hours. 3 days, nice. Got 900 hours in a single Minecraft single player world, and I'm not remotely done with it. Really hard to answer. Yeah, fair. I used to play a lot of Minecraft with Corvus. We had our own world on a private server. Got really into beekeeping. I was with the Feed the Beast mod. I think it was Feed the Beast. I'm sure Corvus will correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't played Minecraft now in a long time. It was a pretty cool game actually. I tried to build Moria in Minecraft. Just dug out a massive mountain and made different chambers, but I sort of made it like the way I would want it to have been. I did keep the massive hall with all the pillars in it. Even got to the point where when you look down the hall in the with the graphic settings that I had, it had that sort of hazed look where you couldn't see the end of it. But never finished it. But I think don't think I have that game save anymore either, so I couldn't go back and finish it now even. 5, 6, 7. So 2 double crochets in the same stitch, and then 1 double crochet in the next 7 stitches. Oops. Got ahead of myself there. Oh. 5. 6. Tend to lean towards more challenging single player games than usually mod them to make them more difficult. Glutton for punishment. Yep, that is Corvus through and through. I'm the type where I like single player role play games. So things like Dishonored and Thief and Assassin's Creed, I guess. But like the original Assassin's Creed. And it's going to sound really bad. I prefer to play those on like the easiest setting ever. Sometimes normal difficulty, but I get more enjoyment out of the story than the actual gameplay. But I like having that interaction with the story slightly. So, for example, with Dishonored, your choices affect what sort of ending you get. So I like a casual unfollow. No, don't go, don't leave. It's just. I mean, I'll give an example. I played BioShock once. That was enough for me. And I only got 5 minutes into the game. It scared the living crap out of me. I would hate to see how I would do with a game like Dead Souls. I get too sort of emotionally invested into the games, so I delve too much into it and suspend disbelief, and then there's like jump scares in games. Well, FNAF next session. No. So I was playing Bioshock, and there was a jump scare, and I literally threw my mouse across the room. Yes, Nova has the pig again. No, I can't aim. There we go. Nova! You're going to stop playing with the pig now. Wasn't even a jump scare. It was a jump scare. It was where one of those slicers jumps out at you from the corridor. Although it shouldn't have surprised me that she was about to jump, to be honest. And because you heard her sort of talking about coming after you, and you heard her, raking the scythes across the wall and that, but it still got me. I think I just pressed escape and ran into the bedroom and hid under the covers. I was like, I'm never playing that game again. But and this is where it gets truly sad. Yes, it was the doctor's office, Corvus. But this is where my gaming gets truly sad, and that I had a similar reaction to playing Subnautica, and having one of those bomb fish swim up behind me. Now, the reason I had such a bad reaction to Subnautica is I have a true, honest to God fear of swimming in the ocean. And I don't know why I thought Subnautica was going to be a game I would want to play, when it is my literal fear of being stranded in the middle of the ocean and having to just jump into the sea without knowing what's underneath you. So I've cut my yarn off, and I've just pulled it through the loop. So that finishes off the hat. So you can see with the way we've done the increases on the rim, we've got quite a nice flat rim for the top hat, with quite a nice sort of defined corner. An accidental horror game based in... Is Subnautica an accidental horror game? I thought it was just supposed to be an exploration thing. I thought it was going to be like Minecraft. Did I have a completely wrong view of what that game was going to be like? I feel like you're going to say yes to that. Alright. I'm going to sew the hat and the nose onto the snowman. The story goes pretty deep if you play long enough. I don't think I will ever get that far into that game. Disregard the pun there. Nope. So I'm going to sew the nose on first, because depending on where the nose ends up on the snowman will determine where I place the hat and all the embroidery for the buttons and the face. So it was not supposed to be as spoopy as it is, but people who made it just kept doing what the game wanted, and it ended up being pretty creepy at the end. Right, I'm never playing that game again. I mean, not that I had any intention of playing that game again anyway. I think I did manage to go back to Subnautica and play it for probably a good couple of hours. But I had to keep reminding myself that it was a game and suppress the rising panic inside me every time I had to jump off the boat into the water. People should play whatever they want for the reason they want. I won't complain about what people will play unless it's a real clash of interest in the multiplayer setting. Fair. Fair. So I put just a little bit of stuffing into the nose. And that's just so I can manipulate the shape of it once it's actually sewn onto the snowman. And it helps keep the rounded shape a little bit. Do you mind? Corvus, would you mind coming to get our dog? I tend to steer towards single player because I prefer to play my game, not the game someone else wants me to play. Not to mention that cheating is rife. That's true. Corvus and I do tend to play a few multiplayers together, but we both do sort of have our own game preferences, so we do tend to go off to playing our own games as well. I think you're just going to have to come up and get a Corvus, not just whistle. So I'm just going to pick a random point about halfway on the top bauble of the snowman. I'm using a curved needle just because it helps get in under the stitches on the body. So just do a little bit of a lash, stick your hook through the body, take a loop onto the nose. Now, with the fact that the nose is a smaller stitch width than the body of the snowman, you'll probably find you going back through the same sort of loops that you made on previous stitches as well. It doesn't change it. Actually, in some ways makes the holding stitch quite a lot firmer and stronger. Just try to go through every stitch on the bottom of the nose. Makes a better connection with the body. I think Nova has realised we don't want her squeaking the pig anymore, but she doesn't quite want to leave the room, despite the fact that Corvus is calling her with another toy.
You're just gonna sulk under Mom's chair now. I'm taking the pig.
Thank you.
And leave the pheasant if you want.
No. Don't leave any squeaker toys. It's rather distracting. I can only imagine what it sounds like on the other side of the stream. Oops. Minecraft has end credits? I think Corvus means multiplayer, but I'm sure he'll explain. What he means. Sorry, I'm going off camera again. Sewing always does, because I'm having to look at some tight angles to make sure I'm getting my needle in the right spot. Just as a creator note, if you find you're struggling to get a nice tight sort of stitch connection between the piece and the body of the snowman, or any of your creations, I find once you've sort of done the first round of stitches, you can go back around and do a second round of stitches to just tighten up that connection. Or sometimes what I do is I will just grab my crochet hook and I will go back and sort of, before I tie off the end with the needle, I will just pull the stitches, get like one of my thinner crochet hooks and just grab each stitch as much as I can and just pull it tighter to loosen some of that slack that you might be getting. Especially when you're working with quite a small area to try and get your stitches in. And that's also why I use a curved hook, a curved needle, sorry. It does make it easier. Tie off that last stitch now. And then I'm just going to hook my needle back in through the body, bring my needle in somewhere in the body, it doesn't matter where, it's just get that end tail of yarn back through the inside once you've tied it off. Just keep a little bit of the tail inside the body. Then we can just shape the nose slightly. And we have it. Nose on the snowman, and now we can place the hat. So probably, even though I've done a jogless stripe, you can still sort of see where the join is. But so I'll always put that to the back. So probably put the hat there. So again, thread the yarn. Much like anything, I add a bit of stuffing into the hat. Just keeps the sides. You can sort of see that the sides have like sort of start to curve inwards. That's just the tension of the yarn. So putting a bit of stuffing inside will help keep that sort of flat and straight. If you need shape, stuff. There we go. So because we've left the tail end of the yarn sort of right out on the brim, I'm going to thread it back through the brim back to the edge of the inside. So back to the edge where you've got the red yarn. So I'm just going to stitch it back through some of the stitches, so it keeps it nice and flat alongside the brim. Don't worry too much if you catch up some stuffing on your thread on this side. You won't see it once we've joined the hat to the body. So I'm just going to do some rough placement just to see where I want it to go. And then I'm just going to pick a random stitch on the head, I'm just trying to sort of get my needle into a stitch that's sort of visually in line with that red rim on the inside. So I know roughly where I want to start that first stitch, so I'm okay with it there. Just move the hat off to the side and just get my needle through first stitch in the head. Stitch in the head. Ooh! Hitting my camera now. Sorry. Got too enthusiastic there. Just line that up. Yep, I'm happy with that. Then I'm just going to thread the needle back up through the brim along that red line. I just need to go fill up my water bottle. I'm getting a bit parched, so I'll be back in a moment. Alright, back. Thank you for bearing with me. Sorry. Alright, so just for stitching the hat on, we're just going to work around that edge of the brim. Go back through. And then continue your stitch underneath along the head. I missed that comment before, Oji. So you completed Pokemon Silver with just a Pokedex of 2 because you wanted to see if you could. That is fair enough and pretty damn impressive. So I had not played Pokemon Silver specifically, but I did have Pokemon Gold. And I always wanted to be one of those people that like filled the Pokedex and never did, but I always got to the point where I had like the 6 Pokemon that I loved, and it didn't matter like sort of what their strengths or weaknesses were. I only ever played with those 6 and just worked at evolving them and getting just finishing the game really. I also had the original Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon Blue, although there wasn't any difference in gameplay between Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon Blue. But other than starting Pokemon, it's Pikachu or Squirtle. Well, really, it was only Pokemon Yellow that you got to start with Pikachu. Pokemon Blue, Green, and Red, you got to choose between the first 3 starter Gen 1 Pokemon. If I remember correctly. If I'm wrong on that, feel free to correct me. That's my recollection. not sure if you can hear, my dog is in the background whining, probably looking for her pig. Which Corvus has a... To be picky, there's more differences. For some reason, red and blue use the same speed run leaderboards, but the other has its own. True, that's actually true. Yes, there are more differences. There are also some map differences between red and blue. So I do remember that there was a cave system that I think it's when you get to one of the island towns, there's a cave system where there's a different way to solve it depending on if you are playing red or blue. That's probably one of the few differences I can remember, but you are correct, there were more. I am just being forgetful. It has been a long time since I played any of those games. Although I do have the Pokemon Go? No, Pokemon Eevee for the Nintendo Switch, which I do love. I've not quite finished it yet. I do have to get back into playing that. It is difficult to play that game with the toddler around because she wants to watch what I'm doing all the time. And she likes to put her head directly in my line of vision, so I can never see what it is I'm doing anymore. I'm waiting for when she's older and I can get her her own console, and then she can play alongside me rather than just watching what I'm doing whilst making sure that I can't see what I'm doing, which I think is, you know, typical toddler behaviour, really. Right, so we're almost finished with the hat. Now I've left quite a long sort of tail on the top hat, and that's because I'll use this tail to also do the embroidery for the eyes and the buttons, and I'll show you how I do that in a moment once I finish sewing this on. One last stitch. There we go. So that's the hat. So I've sort of tipped this hat a little bit forward compared to what I did with the other one, but I kind of like that with these. It's always different, so you get sort of a different personality with every snowman, I find, sort of just with how you tend to position the accessories on them. So what I do now to start the embroidery is I'll start with the eyes. So I'm sort of aiming, with the eyes, I'm sort of aiming for one stitch divot over from the carrot, and that's for the inner part of the eye. So the eye would be from there to that divot to that divot using a triangle. So I want to aim my needle initially for either this divot or the center divot. Doesn't really matter which, it just when you pull the yarn through the rest of the embroidery, if you start sort of with the outer edge of the eye, it just gives it a neater finish. I don't know how to explain why it gives it a neater finish, but it's just with the way that the yarn then pulls when you move to the next stitch of the embroidery. I hope that's clear. So I'm just going to try and get my needle through a point from where I finished the hat, and then it's just trying to bring, because I can't get the needle all the way from here to the front of the face, I'm going to try and bring it out through a divot on the side of the head, but without going through any of the yarn, just bringing it up nice and cleanly from the inside of the head, so I can then move the needle back through the same divot to get to the front of the face for the embroidery. I'm going to use my pliers here to bring the needle through. I get stuck in the stuffing sometimes. So then going back through the same hole, I'm going to try and bring the needle to where we need it at the front of the face. If we need to do another one of those, a little loop up, yeah, we're going to need to. I can't get the needle all the way through. We can. So we're just sort of working the yarn through the center of the snowman until we get it to where we need. So I need to bring it slightly over. So I'm going to come up through that bottom of the outer edge divot that I need for the eye. Now, here's a question for those in the chat. So I've written up a written pattern for this as well. So if you want a written pattern rather than watching the video back to create the snowman, for the embroidery, would you prefer written instructions or a picture with a number assignment as to how to do, or like where to insert your needle in order to make the embroidered stitches? Does that make sense? So would you just prefer it be written as to explain how to do it, or to sort of show you, like, bring your hook up, bring your needle through here as point 1, then point 2, place it through the top of the eye, then point 3, bring it up in the inner divot, and then point 4, place it back through the center? Does that make sense? I hope it does. So we're going to insert our needle through the top of the divot for the top of the eye, bring it out through the divot for the bottom of the inner edge of the eye, and go back up through the center, and then we're going to bring our needle down to a divot that is I'm trying to get my needle through, a divot that is 2 rows down from the bottom of the outer edge of the eye. Okay, so that's the first eye. And then we're going to insert our hook in a diagonal, well, kind of like underneath the diagonal from the point where we've come out of. And then because this has lined up on a stitch where it was doubles for increases, where I would normally go into a divot, because we've got a double for increases, we've got a thicker stitch and a thicker divot. So actually for this one I'm going to be inserting my needle through the middle post of the stitch rather than a divot, and then try and bring it up through the divot that is again diagonal from that one. Try and wiggle my needle through. That's the first part of the smile. And then I'm going to go over one divot and then up through the next one. These are shorter pull throughs. And do down through the next divot and up through the one next to it. And over one, and then we're going to come up diagonally and up a row to finish off the bottom part of that smile. And then we're going to insert our hook through the diagonal top divot. Now I'm just going to, before I push that through, I'm now going to try and get this hook down to the center of the bottom. No, sorry, I'm not going to do that because I've still got another eye to do. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So I'm going to bring this needle up 2 rows and try to get a divot that's sort of directly above this edge of the smile. There we go, to the outer, to the bottom of the outer edge of the right eye. Then, like with this eye, I'm going to go up diagonal and just up a row into the divot there, and then pull that hook, pull the needle through the diagonal divot of the bottom of the inner edge of the right eye. Okay. Then go back through that top divot, and now I'm going to try and bring the needle to the center of the bottom snowball. And this may be one of those ones where, like when coming from the back of the head, we need to come up in a divot and then place the needle back through that divot where we've come up so we can get to a center point. I'm going to manipulate that stitch a little bit. Okay. And back through that divot. See how well I can do this. I'm aiming for like a divot that's sort of in line with the nose. I'm probably aiming for a divot about here. About 5 rows down from the neck. There we go. Yeah, I'm happy with that one. So I'm going to go down one divot and then bring my needle up in one row down further. Bring it up in another divot. Put my needle back in through the center and bring it up to the divot off to the right, and again back in the center and bring it up in the divot to the left. the left on the snowman, your right probably if you, well, most likely if you're looking at it. And then back through the center again, and then I'm going to bring my hook up 2 rows below this cross. And then we're just going to repeat the same pattern. So down 1, and then back up through the row below. I'm stuck on some yarn. And back through the center and off to the right. And back through the center and off to the left. And then back through the center. And I like to then just bring this yarn out somewhere down the bottom of the snowman. And I'm a little bit off with that center, that bottom center stitch. Should have brought that up through the center post of a stitch rather than a divot. That's just post creation note. I'm not going to change that. Then just going to cut the black yarn off, poke that back through into the body. Okay. And then to tie it off, because it's a bit difficult to tie the embroidery off, a little cheat for me, I just pop a little drop of super glue or any type of glue, liquid glue, in the middle of that bottom cross, and that just ties off the embroidery. So we just flatten out the brim of the hat. So that, we've almost got the snowman finished there. So we do just have the scarf to make. I'm just going to check what the time is. Alright, it's almost 10 o'clock, so we've actually been streaming for 3 hours. I know I've been doing a lot of chatting. So I think I might skip the scarf, and I'll just give some design notes. So I'll take the scarf off my other one here. So the scarf is kind of a personalized or personalizable aspect to the snowman. So for the one I did a chain of 100 stitches and then worked vertical stripes of the 2 colours till I got 5 stripes. But really, you can do whatever design you want for the scarf. You could do it horizontal stripes building up taller. You could do it vertically building width like what I've done. You could do any sort of design really. I tried to make it what I did with when I did the starting chain, I made it so that when I pulled the starting chain around the neck, I had roughly 15 centimeters on either overflow side of the scarf, just so that I would have enough to wrap it round and be able to tie it around the neck of the snowman. And then I wanted to leave the scarf removable, so I didn't want to make it short that I would have to then sew it into place. I wanted to make it so I could tie it up in different ways, do different kinds of knots, see what I liked about it, and then, you know, if I wanted to change, like do a different knot one day and then the next, I could. So that's really probably a real good customizable part of the snowman. So if you wanted to do it yourself, you can do the scarf any way you want, and then it's got your own little touch to it, which I think is nice. So my written pattern for this will be available to buy on my Etsy and on Ravelry. The written pattern will be for sale for £5. Sorry, it'll be for sale for £4, not 5. It's been a long night, I do apologise. So the written pattern has some instructional pictures and has links to particular timings throughout these 3-part videos that show instruction moments where I've talked about how to do like magic circle, my alternative magic circle, how to do the jogless stripe, how to work in the back loop only and the front loop only. So it will link to that, so you don't, if you prefer to work with a written pattern, you can look through this and see exactly where in these videos I have certain instructions if you're a beginner. It talks through my process. It will show the written pattern for both the big boy snowman and for my little hanging decoration snowman. It will be available for purchase as of Wednesday. If you keep an eye out on my Instagram and my TikTok, I will be putting announcements out on both for when the pattern does go live. If you follow me on Instagram, the first 10 people to like my Instagram post announcing the publishment of my written pattern will receive a 50% discount on the purchase of the written pattern. But otherwise, thank you very much guys for tonight. Thank you for joining in, chatting, keeping this night interesting. If you've liked what I've done and you're not yet following me, please drop me a follow. If you are watching this later on YouTube, please subscribe. I will be coming out with more crochet alongs. I will also be starting, and I did this on Halloween, but I will be starting a mystery makes series. With the mystery makes, if you can guess what I'm making before I'm finished, you win the make. Yes, what other selfless plugs or self-full plugs do I need to do? Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. Drop me a follow on all of these, please. I am starting out on streaming, but I'm hoping to do a lot more and get some more creations out for everyone. So thank you very much. Have a great night, rest of your night. And thank you all for joining in. And yes, OG, I will give the pig back to the doggo. Alright, thank you very much everyone. Goodbye, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye.